Horror Lies.
Hey guys, Rob from Georgia here with you. I'm your regular Wednesday evening host here at BodyBags. It is week, can you believe it? Week 400 weeks. BodyBags has been rolling along with seemingly with no end in sight, and let's all hope and pray there is no end in sight. It has gone on for 7 years. And with just a slew of hosts going all the way back to the very beginning, of course. And here we are, still rolling at it. And so week 400, we decided we would do a special celebratory theme where each of us pick a different movie. Hopefully nothing that has been reviewed before. Hopefully all original reviews. But hey, it's still a different review even if it's done before years ago. And either birthday, Christmas, Easter, whatever, man. It's just something celebratory just to enjoy this week, man. Week number 400. And so I bring you a film that is new to BodyBags in terms of review from 1981. It is the seminal slasher classic Happy Birthday to Me from J. Lee Thompson from 1981. This is a guy who is known for the Guns of Navarone and the original Cape Fear in 62, of course. Also, he delved a little bit into the Planet of the Apes films with Conquest. And, of course, he followed this up with the Charles Bronson slasher, 10 to Midnight. So, we got a good director here, for sure. And the cinematography, mostly known for TV work, does a pretty darn good job here shooting this film. And the only other thing that I noticed here was one of the makeup guys, Tom Berman. He's been known or attached with tons of freaking things, man. Going back to Prophecy, the original Prophecy in 79, The Beast Within, freaking classic film, One Dark Night. Again, Planet of the Apes, the original film, One Dark Night, Frogs, Close Encounters, My Bloody Valentine, The Goonies, Sloth, X-Files, and it goes on and on and on and on and on, right? Columbia Pictures film. This is a Canadian slasher film, and of course, I am still running with the old Anchor Bay. Remember how great it was to just be able to throw out there. Just got my hands on another Anchor Bay freaking classic. Today, of course, we throw other, a lot of other names around like Arrow 88 and Scream Factory, what it is, Indicator, whatever it is that we're delving into and getting. But there was a day when, man, it seemed like Anchor Bay had the corner on the market. This is an interesting, I read a lot on this movie. I watched it a couple times. It does still do well today, if it's been a while since you've seen it. Or maybe for whatever reason you've never seen it. It is a standalone slasher, no sequels, no follow-ups, no remakes, thankfully. This one has been somewhat left, it has been left alone, and I kind of hope it is always left alone. It is, it's got touches of giallo in there, touches of slasher quality in there. I've heard on more than one occasion, I've heard people talk about how this reminds them of a slasher version of a Scooby-Doo, which is interesting. I tried hard to catch that vibe, and it was tough for me. I'll be honest, it was tough for me. I never really quite caught that. When I think of Scooby-Doo and slashers and stuff like that, man, my heart, mind, soul always goes to Scream, man. To me, that is the definitive, our version of Scooby-Doo for today, right? It was tough for me to catch that vibe here, but man, this movie still sticks with it, man. The kills, obviously, if you've seen them before, they still, one or two of them still pack a good punch. It's kind of hard for the weight, dropping of the weight scene to not carry a punch. The shish kebab's always fun to watch still, and the end probably leads us to a moment that where you have a slew of victims around a table. And of course, this is a birthday-themed film, right? Which is pretty gory. The effects are pretty good. for the most part, I think they're all really good. It was enjoyable to revisit this thing. It is a mystery. Really, at the heart of this is you got Melissa Sue Anderson, a la Little House on the Prairie, go figure, right? But she does a freaking fantastic job as Virginia. And she's sort of caught in the midst of this whirlwind of just not knowing, man, what's going on in her life, man. She survived a tragic accident which killed her mother, nearly killed her. As a result, she had to also undergo extreme brain surgery, which I'll say is one of the more goriest moments in the film. And it's hard for me to actually watch that scene or any scene like that because I've had brain surgery to remove a tumor. So that one kind of touches a weird vibe deep down inside. But so she's part of this clique, this private school, the top 10. And people start dying, and no one can figure out why, but all fingers start pointing at old Virginia. And there is a past here, and I will say this too, this is curious. I always thought it was funny how within the framework of the Scream trilogy, in the first film, they basically give out the killer when, is it Randy who says, if you watch Prom Night, you know who the killer is. And funny how the third piece unfolds in that way. But it's funny when the third final act of this film begins to unfold as you lead into the climax and the very end climax, I was reminded, or maybe just made aware, that the very end of this also plays heavy into the final moments of Scream 3. And so where Scream really as a trilogy looks in at itself and is really self-aware, it really does take from movies in terms of the construct of its plot, which I find, nothing wrong with that, man. It was done really well as far as I was concerned. But Prom Night, Happy Birthday to Me, and there's got to be probably a couple others you can throw in there, I'm sure. But this one is really, really intricate in terms of what it means to the final climactic moments of Scream 3. But as people start dying and Virginia just begins to start going mad, her psychiatrist, played by Glenn Ford, how freaking awesome is it to get a freaking horror movie with somebody like Glenn Ford anchoring things down a little bit? Now, his part is not near as big or necessary to everything that is going on. I find it fun, man. I think one of the scenes most memorable to me with Glenn Ford is, of course, Mr. Kent in the original Superman, and that scene where he's running up the driveway with his son, and of course he has a heart attack. And but I love Glenn Ford, man, and to see somebody that major take on, and it's fun, man. It's fun. And then, of course, our opening scene, we have our opening kill, actually was a sort of a new coming on veteran of the horror genre. The girl, I'm trying to think here, Lesleh Donaldson, maybe. I think she was in Mortuary, right? And then I think after this she'll go on to Curtains. So I mean, there's a bit of self-awareness in this movie. Not like Meta or anything. I don't think like anything like that. But I mean, it's setting the stages for a lot of things that will be emulated later on for sure. So Happy Birthday to Me, man. And then of course, as she starts drowning, in the whirlpool of madness, not knowing if she's actually committing these murders or what, you start to find out the backdrop of what her mom was. Her mom was into things and was not very stable. And you just start to find out some of the backdrop stuff, and it all just speedily heads towards a pretty fulfilling conclusion. Now, I will say I read on one review where the person absolutely hated the conclusion, and then I read on the other quite a few places that it was freaking awesome. I freaking enjoyed it. I just think this movie is more fun when you reflect backwards, knowing what has happened. And it's like Scream 3 in a way, it's fun to kind of look back at, well, what was really meant, and how did it really lay out in the first part and the second part, when we find all that good stuff out in the final end moments of the third part. This movie's kind of like that in a way. It's fun to kind of reflect back a little bit. But happy birthday to me, man. Some little freaking director, man, getting his hands on a horror piece, a slasher, which has some giallo elements to it. Even got the black leather gloves at the beginning, razor blades. I mean, you know, some of the marks of giallo. It is classic, man, and it's funny that I review this movie on this day since it is my 51st birthday. So you know what? Happy birthday to freaking me. Gotta lay that out there. But it is week 400. I'm gonna, I think, end there. It is week 400, and just thank you so much for allowing us to be around for 400 freaking weeks, and however many weeks lay ahead of us. Gotta love our crew, gotta love each and every single one who anchors down every single day. And it's good stuff here, man. It's just fun, man. These few minutes, it's like just breaking away from reality, man. This is like my shot of bourbon that I need every so often, if you kind of get my drift. So I appreciate it. Thank you so much for the comments. Thank you so much for the likes. Subscribe if you haven't. And just support us and encourage us just with your comments continually, I hope. Happy birthday to me. Check it out. As with each and every other review that drops, celebratory theme, so across the board it's going to be some fun freaking reviews, I think. As always, we end these things off with Go Bills.
This is not a dream. Not a dream.